your special is called Problematic. Why?
Okay, so that's a funny story. All right, so look, so it didn't start off like that. The first title that we came up with was Urban Excellence, and I was like, oh, I don't, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So we went with that. It was some pieces on IMDb might still say Urban Excellence because we haven't fixed it all the way yet. But I watched it. I've watched it like several times over, probably like eight, probably 30 at this point. I'm be honest. And it something clicked around the 10th time. And my family, I have an older sister. She's a lawyer. I'm the comic who has a master's, and it's problematic. You know what I mean? It's problematic. So my life is problematic. My family, some of them think I'm problematic, and my thought process and the things that I do. I was like, this is my life. You know what I mean? Having my son and the way that I had it, how the whole situation, it's problematic. I said, that's it.
We're going to get some intimate details about your life and about some things that
Absolutely.
you've gone through. So just give us a preview of what we may see.
You just pretty much gonna learn who Rob is. Like if you
Oh,
don't know who Rob is, if you haven't heard me before, seen me before, don't follow me on Instagram. This is my opportunity to kind of let people pull the veil back and let people know. And even the people that do know me, some of these stories that they don't know unless you knew me at that time,
okay.
um, or you seen me out, you might not know this. It's kind of like these are the things you don't know, kind
Uh-oh.
of situation. So it's an opportunity for people to get to know me better and know who I am and what I come from.
That's exciting when you can be transparent in that way. It's
Yeah.
funny because people meet us at different chapters in our lives, and obviously they don't always know the backstory, and then they drop out, so they don't know where we are in the present or where we're going in the future. But for you, you're still really young. But for you to have this premiere on Amazon, to show this special and to show your life, I think that says a lot about your confidence and
Yeah.
where you've been, and it can help so many people who want to become a comedian like you. Now, I want to go back. You said in the special you talk about your life and how you grew up. You grew up in DC, is that right?
I'm a
You grew up,
Washingtonian. Yes.
yeah, you grew up in Washington, D.C. Okay, so can you just walk us through how a young boy from Washington, D.C., who also has a master's in architecture,
Yeah.
became a comedian? How does that work?
Ah, fate, as you
Okay.
may. No. So I from Washington D.C. played went to Carroll High School um, on North Capitol. Played football there. That football led me down to Hampton University, where I played football again there.
Okay.
Um, and within my football career, I just always been the guy on. It's always one guy on the team or in your class that's always joking. So I've
Of
always
course.
been
The class
just
clown, right?
the class. That's me. I've always been that guy, just walking around, running off at the mouth, right? So my report cards when I was a kid was too talkative in class. You know
Uh-oh.
what I mean? So that's always been me as a kid. So then I progressed down to Hampton. Um, I'm in my sophomore year, my redshirt sophomore year. I get an opportunity to play and I get hurt, which I also talk about in the special. Um, and me getting hurt, I kind of find myself at a crossroads on like, what am I gonna do next? You know what I mean? Like, am I gonna go back and play and make my attempt to play in the National Football League, or am I going to choose an alternative route and go with something that's kind of like an uncharted path, if you may, for me? So I was kind of at a point where I was like, all right, well, I'll just pursue my degree.
Okay.
Well, I've never been a person that really was like an office guy or somebody that can kind of sit behind a desk or whatever the case may be. So one of my friends, I came home. I never forget it. I came home on a weekend trip uh, to mess with one of my friends, Dave Hodges, is still one of my friends to this day. We played against each other at boys club, went to high school together. He's been my friend, still my friend to this day. And Dave says to me, he says, "Man, you should try comedy." So naturally, I tell him, get out of here, dude. I'm not
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing that, bro. So he kind of pushes it on me, and so we go to a comedy club. Go to this comedy club on this one particular night. My uncle sets me up to meet this guy, who I later found out was Chris Thomas. and Tony Woods, both of these guys who are DC legends. And these guys throw me on stage. First night in comedy, or thinking that I'm doing comedy, whatever the case may be. I did okay. I didn't do great.
Okay, at least you're honest. Most people would be like, I did amazing. What?
No, absolutely not. Not in the least.
Okay.
So I didn't do too great. But I fell in love with comedy. It gave me the same feelings, emotions that football did. That little, well, sports in general. If you ever played, have you ever played sports?
Oh, yeah, I have.
That stomach feeling that you get before a game. It's like I'm scared, but I'm not really scared.
Right, I'm excited. I want this, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen.
I don't really know what's gonna happen. So it kind of gave me that same feel, and based off that feeling, I fell in love with stand-up comedy, and then I pursued it ever since then. I went back to school. Still played football because I had responsibilities, right? I had signed up to do it. This is something that I said I was going to do. So I finished out and did what I said that I was going to do, my commitment to the school. And then upon graduation, I really started to bear down on stand-up comedy. Like I was full in, doing what I do, hitting stages, going across the country, traveling. I found a mentor, and I just worked. I just worked the craft. And I'm 10 years in the craft now. At this current point, I've worked
Congratulations.
Thank you. I've worked with several people: Dave Chappelle, Martin Lawrence, Kevin Hart, Tony Woods. Hey, puppy.
That's my buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you trying to come get some love. He said, "Who you talking to?"
You're right. Nosy.
So I've worked with so many people. And I've had the opportunity to meet so many great people. Tiffany Haddish. So, it's just kind of like one of those situations. I've had so many people give me great advice. And it's just like one of those situations like now is kind of like my opportunity to kind of show what I've learned in that time period. It's almost like a graduation of sorts to kind of like what's next. So yeah, I'm thankful. I'm grateful.
Okay. Now, obviously, you just mentioned you name dropped a couple of people that you met.
Boom, boom, boom.
Right. I love it. So, out of the people that you've met or the people that came before you, who are your top comedians?
My what we call in comedy, me and my friends, we call it the Mount Rushmore of comedy.
Okay.
So Mount Rushmore of comedy would have to be Martin Lawrence because he's a hometown guy.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Chappelle, another hometown guy. I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion. I'm gonna have to say Bernie Mac.
Okay, I knew it was coming. You have to mention Bernie though. But why do you say he's unpopular?
Some people wouldn't put Bernie there. Some people they would put a Eddie. They would put a Richard. They would put a Cat. I love Cat. You know what I mean? But he holds down my comedy Mount Rushmore simply because Topics talked a lot about family. He was unpopular in his opinion on talking about his family, but turned it into a show that was made super popular. So because due to scrutiny, I think he's not in everyone's personal favorite, but he's one of my favorites.
Okay.
And his ability to act. He has the ability to act. He's amazing.
A great actor.
He's
a great actor. I miss him so much.
Oh my God. Amazing actor, an amazing stand-up comedian, amazing father and leader. I love Bernie Mac. It's one of my personal favorites. And then that last spot, another unpopular opinion.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna have to go with Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
And they're gonna say some people would say Richard Pryor's not on your Mount Rushmore. It's not that he's not great. I'm just saying that these people are special to me. You know
and that
what I
makes
mean?
sense. It's your Mount Rushmore.
They special to me. Now, if I could put a fifth one up there, then he'd be right there. But
okay.
Mount only has 4 heads. So
I love that. Now, you said you've been in the game for about 10 years now. What could you say has been the most rewarding part about being a comedian or being on this journey?
The most rewarding part, I would say setting your goals and finally seeing them come to fruition. I think, in a lot of things that anybody does. I mean, not just a stand-up comic. a doctor, a lawyer, basketball player, whatever your profession is, to go after a goal, set a goal, or have an idea in mind. Set that goal and then see it come to fruition years down the line. I think that's one of the joys for me. One, and then I would say the second one would be being able to say that I have a special. You know what I mean? Like that's huge. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like any comic that's come, right? Like that's like the culmination of like I'm now a comic. Like
Right.
you have to respect my comedic thought process or my perspective, right?
It
So that
makes it official now. Yeah.
makes it a fit. You know, I'm official. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you know, it's no more you doing your little Instagram content.
Right.
You
Right.
know, it's no more of that. And I would say, being able to have relationships with some of my favorite comics, like actually having relationships with them. Some of the guys that I've watched on TV, I have relationships with these people.
Yeah.
And then also, I would say on the turn is the acting side. Like, because in order to make this side work with the comedy, you have to kind of do the acting side. And I think that I've been able to, in a short period of time, do some great work and work with some great people and grab great advice from those people.
Hmm.
Um, like recently, I had the ability or opportunity to work with Lisa Ray, uh,
Ooh.
AJ Johnson, who played the mother on Baby Boy, and
Hmm.
Michael Collier, and just working with them, it's been an absolute treat and pleasure. Just to they're legends, right? Like
Yes,
you can't
they
take that
are.
from any of them. All three of them are legends, and to be able to learn from them and just be a fly on the wall when they're doing their scenes and just the professionalism and the level of professionalism, it's just been uncanny. I mean, I can't compare it to anything. I mean,
I
maybe
love.
football, maybe, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I love how humble you are. There are so many people that could easily be in your position, right? Where they've been in the game for 10 years, they finally have their own special, and you wouldn't ever hear them talking like you're talking. I just love the fact that you're still willing to learn. You're still in that place where you know that you're human, you know that these people are human as well, but they have something to offer. And you still show your respect. You know how some people can just walk in a room, they're just like, you've been alive for 5 minutes. But still, they're just like, I'm the man. I don't know who you are. You're washed up. I'm the man. I get the
Yeah,
attention now.
you can't be like that because it's. I mean, you know, the people that came before you, the only reason that you're given the opportunities that you get is because of them, right? We all stand on the shoulders of somebody else, and if it wasn't for those people, you wouldn't even have those opportunities. I mean, you know, we're in 2020 in America, and we're still experiencing the first African American to be the president. You know what I mean? Or the first African American female to be the vice
Vice
president elect.
president, yeah.
Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So it's no, you have no place to have a sense of arrogance. I just come from that. You know what I mean? That's how I was raised. That's how my family raised me. Bro, nobody's bigger than nobody else. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody deserves respect. Now, respect is earned, but you still have to give that respect, if that makes sense. So that's just kind of, you know, upbringing, just coming into fruition, just who I am. It's the DNA.
I
Yep.
love that. I want to talk to, obviously, once again, you've been in the industry for about 10 years, so I'm sure you faced some challenges, probably more than enough. But if you can just give us a story about a challenge that you faced and you were able to overcome.
Um, there's several. So many.
Yeah.
Let me think. Let me try to narrow one down. I think I'll go with this one. So, um, when okay, yeah, no, I'm not gonna tell that one. Um, I gotta say, I gotta think of certain things in
I,
my head, and it's like I'm gonna say, I'm gonna help him or her say that.
I
So
kind of
I
want to
think
hear that one though, but that's okay. Let's
okay,
go with this
all right.
one.
So
We'll go.
okay, no, I'm not gonna give that to you. So when I guess I've been in the game for 10 years, and I've faced a lot of different crossroads, if you may. And I guess that any artist in any artist's career, you face the point that you want to quit, right? If you haven't been doing something long enough where you feel like you want to quit, then you ain't been doing it long enough. So I think for me, that opportunity or that moment when it presented itself was I was on my son was on the way. Actually, he had just been born. I'd been fired from my job, recently fired from my job, and I had a mortgage to pay. I had car notes to pay, insurance to pay, food to put on the table, and I had to figure it out. And so at that point, I had two decisions to make. Am I going to continue and go hard in this comedy thing, or kind of let it linger, step away for a second, get my life together, and then come back to it? So what I ended up doing is I actually stepped away from comedy. This was probably my son's 3. So about 3.5 years ago, I stepped away from comedy. I still kind of did stages. I did like maybe 2 stages that year when all of this turmoil was happening. And I went into the hole about, I would say, I really don't necessarily like to talk about numbers in interviews, but I'll do this for you. So I was about $30,000 in the hole,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
30 bands.
real.
Yeah, I'm 30 bands in the hole. I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? So I prayed, and I just got on my grind. I mean, I did several different things. I downloaded like 4 different apps, DoorDash, Uber,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like four
Grubhub
different.
and do whatever you need to
Well,
do.
I mean, I did what I needed to do.
Yeah.
I'm not big up in the streets or anything like that. I got back into that little game a little bit here and there. I had to feed my family, so I did what I had to do. But what I will say, I got out of that or whatever, and I got on the other side of it. Now, I'm not, bragging or boasting on any of those things, but you got to do what you got to do in order for your family to eat. But when I got on the other side of that, I got back into comedy. Now, when I came back into comedy this time, I had a mission, plan, and a purpose. So my mission, plan, and purpose was I am going to figure out a way with this to feed my family. In the midst of that, also, I started a real estate investment company, which kind of helped me kind of finance some of these different ventures and different things that are going on. Because that's important to financial literacy.
Mhm.
Um, so in that moment, I made a decision. I said, okay, what am I doing with comedy? Because chasing the stage and doing stages for these, weekend checks or little money here and there is not going to work. What is my intention? So I created an intention. I said, okay, I want to create a special. And that's when I started working on the first initial iteration of what I wanted it to be. What is my message? What do I want people to learn about me? What do I want to put out into the world? So I started working on that process. I started going back around. I was touring. I was doing my stand up. But this time I had a different intent. I had a different purpose. And as I started to make bigger intents, different doors started to open up. That was kind of like, this is it. This ride, here it comes. And it's just kind of flow. Other than COVID, it's been a constant kind of flow since then. So it's been a blessing. What I would say to anybody is create a focus, create a target, and an intention, and then everything else is pretty much going to handle itself.
I love that. Thank you so much for that advice part. I was going to ask you about that later, but thank you so much for giving that to the audience.
Circle it on it.
Exactly. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
I just want to switch gears and just ask you a couple questions regarding the racial climate. You don't have to answer if you don't want, but
you see what I got going on over here.
I love it. I love it.
You see what I got going
on. What are your thoughts? I mean, obviously, police brutality isn't new. It's been around for quite a while, unfortunately. But what are your thoughts? I mean, Jacob Blake. What comes to your mind when you hear his name?
Pain, hurt. I spoke about this yesterday on my podcast. We as Black people in America, Africans in America, are sick and tired of seeing the same brutality, nonsense, racial tension, systematic oppression, however you want to quantify it. We're tired of it, right? And we have to get to a point where we're at a point now where we're all unified, tired of it, right? So now we have to be able to have the conversation on what's next. The voting is important, it's imperative. But in voting, we also have to keep local officials and local state officials, as well as Congress, accountable for what's going to happen. Because if we don't hold them accountable, then what happens is you cast your ballot, and the same stuff happens continuously over and over and over again. Defunding the police is not going to help. But we have to get some type of policies and procedures in place that when racist cops decide to do acts of terrorism, which is killing a black man in the street who's unarmed, shooting him in the back, you have to face the same consequences and repercussions that somebody who's not a blue badge faces, right? So the death penalty, maybe, if it has to be a more severe punishment, because you getting paid leave is not going to help it stop, right? So if you put in a mind of a police officer, I don't care black, white, or purple, if you kill somebody or you shoot somebody, automatic death penalty. I'm not saying that it's right, but at the end of the day, a life for a life. So now you have a consequence in the back of your mind. It's going to make you a little bit more hesitant to pull that trigger.
Right.
Now, if you really threaten and they pull a gun, okay, cool. I understand.
What are your thoughts on people who are saying that they're either not going to vote because they don't like the choices that we have when it comes to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Trump and Pence, or those who are saying that they're going to vote for Kanye just because?
I think that people need to be honest with themselves and understand that Kanye is a distraction. One, love him, love the Yeezys, keep making shoes. You know what I mean? You got to know your place, bro. Like you're being a distraction, and that's ignorance. Because the truth of the matter is, Kanye running for president is not valid, right? So you would just be writing that in. He didn't do any of the processes and procedures that is necessary for somebody to become a candidate, right? He didn't register. He didn't go through the legal process in order to be in the race, right? So he's just a distraction. One. Then when you talk about the split of Democrat and or Republican, it's the lesser of two evils, right? You got the Republicans who are very much at this point doing bigotry, public bigotry. And then you have Democrats who feel as though black people are just going to vote for them because just because they don't really have a reason, right? So, and that comes from a prior mentality of, they were slave owners of the South. The Republicans freed us in the North. So they've always had a mentality that African Americans weren't as equally as smart as they are and are going to do and jump when they say so, right? So that's just like precursor back end stuff. But here's the real. The real is this. You got to vote for somebody, right? And you have to vote for somebody who makes it a little bit better, not the best. So in that, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, right, but Biden is the better choice right now because Trump is trying to function America as a dictatorship and not a democracy. So we got to get him out. That's just the truth. And then we'll deal with everything else from there.
Anything else you want to say? Anything we didn't cover? There were a couple questions I had for you, but I do not want to ruin your special. So, but if there's anything that you want to add, anything you want to plug, feel free. Go ahead.
Tap in with me. Problematic the special is releasing on Amazon. I love for y'all to take it out, take a look at it, check me out, and get at me. I respond back.
Awesome. Can't wait to see it, and congratulations again. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I appreciate you for having me.
You're welcome.